Hi, Terry Rose here again from LJ Create with another LMS training session. In today's session we're going to take an introductory look at the middle and high school science material that's available on the LMS. So you can see that I've got a screen here. I'm in the LMS, I'm logged in as a student, and I'm looking at the middle school science content. This is actually the next generation standards content material, and that means that on the right hand side, if we look at the standards tab and bring that out, we can see that we've got a whole list of these next generation science standards, and I can open those standards up. I can go to topic areas such as structure and properties of matter, and if I click on that, you can see the left hand side is automatically filtered to show lessons which will have material in them which will help cover those that particular topic area. If I want to drill down a bit further to these individual components of the standard and click on there, you can see it further filters the course and lessons on the left hand side. If I want to undo that filtering, I just click on the standard again. So it's a toggle action. So click to filter, click again to unfilter is the quickest way to sort the course and lessons on the left hand side. Okay, so as well as the standards I've got here, I can also show support material that's available for the lessons. Not all of the lessons will have support material available for them, but again, if I click on a particular area, click on elements for instance, then immediately it filters the left hand side to show me the lesson talking about elements of the periodic table. Again, if I click again, it will remove that filtering and I see all of my lessons in the course. So as well as the supporting material, I've also got a common core tab which lists some key ideas and details, for instance for grades 6 to 8, and again if I drill down and click on an element of that, then again it will list on the left hand side lessons and so on which have content which fulfill that particular requirement as listed under the common core section there. And likewise, if I look at concepts and practices, if I look at something like the concept of cause and effect, click on there and I filter, click again to unfilter, and again if I drill down to something more specific, okay, we filter and again unfilter. So you can see how we can filter the lessons that appear in the course on the left hand side using these various lists of support standards and common core and concepts on the right hand side. Likewise, of course, if I go over to the unfiltered list and choose a subject area such as elements, then I can immediately see that on the right hand side the list is filtered to show me the standard that is being fulfilled by that lesson. And if I can just click down to something like, say, the periodic table, we should be able to see that if I click on support and click that again, it shows in this case there's no support for it. But if I try to find something, there we go, physical properties of matter, I've got a support lesson there with a presentation and an assessment which provides supporting material for that particular lesson. So the menus work in both directions in terms of filtering information to target the learning that you're undertaking. Okay, so let's go back to the lessons themselves, and just take you through the various parts of a lesson. You can see here that the list of lessons in the course is made up of these various launch buttons. In many cases, you may have 3 launch buttons here, which are the presentation. You see the tooltip just coming up there, the investigation, and an assessment. And because this is a constructed course, you can also see that in certain areas we have also a practical available and an assessment that's linked to that practical. Okay, so let's just go through and look at each of these launch buttons in action. So if I take the structure of atoms, for instance, and launch the presentation.
Structure of atoms. In this presentation, you will explore the structure of atoms.
Control bar at the bottom of the presentation, which allows me to step through the slides.
Introduction. Atoms are the smallest part of an element that can exist.
I can, of course,
structure of atoms. In this introduction, atoms are. This model will have advantages and disadvantages.
Automatically send the presentation.
A good model will have more advantages than disadvantages.
Narrated, and I can turn that narration
This does not mean that the model is perfect.
On and off with this button here.
It is a way for us to understand better how the atom is constructed.
And you can again turn that feature on and off if you wish to, and of course you can make the slide fill the screen. Particularly useful if you're using this as a front of class presentation on a whiteboard or a smart board. Just bring that back to the screen size. Okay, so we can continue to
Question 1.
Move on through
what is the name given to the smallest distinguishable unit of an element?
Question slide.
Atom,
Molecule,
particle,
of an element,
matter.
Would be a molecule, I guess. No, got that wrong. Sorry.
Atom.
Go for an atom. I've got it right. Let's move on.
Atoms. Proton. The rest of the atom. Question 2. Which of the following is not found in the nucleus of any atom? Proton, neutron, nucleon, electron.
No, got it wrong. That's answer D.
Electron. Mass and charge. Relative mass. The atom and atom. Mass. Isotope. Many. Carbon. The periodic. Question 3. Isotopes are atoms of the same element containing the same number of protons and electrons, but different numbers of neutrons. Is this statement true or false?
All right, this is going to be a complete guess.
True.
I've got it right. Okay. So
each energy level is capable of holding. The first energy level can hold only 2 electrons.
But I'm going to just finish this presentation early, which will drop us back to our lesson plan here. If we now look at the investigation, this is a nice example of investigation because it has one of our simulation applications built into it. In the investigation, the student here is going to be investigating the structure of different atoms for different elements. You'll notice here the voice play icon here. In all investigations, the introduction to the investigation has a voiceover which you can play. The rest of the investigation is in written form or is just available to read. But basically, if we are going to look at the structure of different elements, we launch the application. Okay, some introductory information here on how to use the drop-down menu. If I full screen this, I can now drop down. I'm going to use the atom builder. Okay, and I can decide how many protons and so on we've got in, for instance, hydrogen atom here. I can choose a different atom if I want, and it will show me the atomic structure of that. Okay, so using the atom builder, I can investigate the structure of different elements, and I close that down. And then, having investigated that area, I can answer these various questions and fill in the table with my results at the bottom here. Okay, so that's the investigation. And finally, for this lesson, we've got an assessment. Some questions, mainly multiple choice, about the work I've been doing. I'll say that. I'll just answer some of these. Number of questions will vary. This is quite a lengthy assessment. I've scored 3 out of 14, which isn't very good, but nevertheless, I'll close that assessment. I can see there by the indicator there that I've actually failed that lesson with a score of just 21%. Okay, so those are the 3 components for that particular lesson. Further down, we've got launch buttons for a practical and an assessment. If I launch the practical, we're using a modelling kit here. You can see the bits and pieces that are used within the kit, and we've got an information sheet that I can click on, which gives me all the information I need about the various parts of the kit and components that are in the kit itself, and information as shown there. This can be printed out, by the way, so it can be used either by the teacher or the student as a handed out information sheet. Okay, so I'm just going to close that information down, and we can carry out this particular practical exercise, and again fill in a table with our observations and so on. And along with that practical exercise comes an assessment. Again, a set of questions based on the work that they've been doing. Attempt to fill some of these answers in. Probably not do very well. In fact, not very well at all. Okay, so we've looked at these components, and let's have a look now at the high school material. So if I just click here at the top, I can select the high school science, again for the next generation standards, and you can see a slightly different course layout here, and but again we've got components, presentations, investigations. Not always all 3 for a particular lesson. In this case, there's no investigation for this particular lesson, but there are 3 practicals and a final assessment on those practicals. Once again, selecting these lessons, on the right-hand side, you're able to see the standards that those particular lessons fulfill. Okay, well, that's an introductory look at middle school and high school science on the LMS. So that's all for today, and see you again next time.